Now then, on to one of the big stories of the day. The African Union Heads of State Summit. The head of the African body has criticized member states for failing to show any solidarity to nations facing famine and drought on the continent. The AU Commission Chair Moussa Faki Mahamat spoke during the biannual meeting of African Heads of State at the AU headquarters in the Ethiopian capital. That meeting also addressed a range of issues, including the security threat in the Sahel region, as well as the unresolved crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan. Nearly 20 million people in Somalia, South Sudan, Nigeria and Yemen, right across the Red Sea, are facing severe malnutrition and famine as a result of climate change and high insecurity. That in turn has caused the displacement of millions of people. Faki reiterated his stand on making security a priority.
In the face of the terrible tragedy of famine in these regions, what happened to the African values of solidarity and fraternity? What happened to our civil society? What happened to our private sector and our benefactors? The tragedy of our brothers in Somalia, South Sudan, in the Lake Chad region and in the Sahel cries out from the deepest of our consciences and from the deepest of our persons. We keep our full strength on the imperative of reducing tensions and putting first political solutions in our regions where the tensions unfortunately remain very high. The aim to silence guns by 2020 is our horizon.
On to Ethiopia now, where the 29th African Union Summit is wrapping up today. African leaders, of course, have endorsed a couple of issues, including the institutional reforms proposal that was worked on by the Rwandan head of state, Paul Kagame, among other key matters being addressed at the summit. Now, for the latest on the events in the Ethiopian capital, let's cross over to Addis Ababa. CGTN's Beatrice Marshall is standing by over there. Beatrice, good to see you. Peace and security matters are getting a lot of prominence in today's session. What is the AU going to do to address the various conflicts right across the continent?
Indeed, Rama, as you've just mentioned, peace and security issues have dominated the two-day summit here, particularly the situation in Somalia, South Sudan, the Lake Chad region with Boko Haram and the Sahel region have been topics of discussion here over the last 2 days. It is expected that some recommendations that will be put in the final communique later today will touch on Africa's peace and security issues. Of course, other issues that are likely to be considered at the end of the session today include the African Union reforms, a report presented by Rwanda's President Paul Kagame and endorsed by heads of state here yesterday. It will include financing for the African Union, which has been a thorny issue over the last decades. And also, of course, Rama, other issues that have been looked at include the UN Security Council, reforming the UN Security Council to give Africa a wider voice, as presented by President Ernest Koroma, and another report presented by the President of Algeria, Abdel Bouteflika, on the fight against terrorism and fight against extremism there. Those are the issues that have been dominating the two-day summit here. And of course, Robert Nagila, let's bring him in. He has been following the deliberations, particularly on the issues of peace and security. And Robert, you did participate, or you followed the briefing on AMISOM here yesterday. What do you think will be part of the key issues in the communique to be presented later today?
Well, Beatrice, it's the one area that everybody here is eagerly awaiting, that communique document that will come out this afternoon. The objectives that the leaders here set for themselves vis-a-vis what to expect here this afternoon. Now, remember as well that you've got 24 leaders out of, 54 African countries, 55 if you count Sahrawi, so quite a lot to chew on. Now, I'm just going to gloss over some of the main points that we expect to come out of that communique this afternoon based on the agenda of this two-day summit. Peace and security was one of them. Now, there was supposed to have been a briefing yesterday evening. That didn't take place. It was supposed to have been this morning. We are told that the Peace and Security Commissioner was briefing the Assembly. That's the reason. So it should take place sometime this afternoon. Now, we expect them to basically generalize over the situation in the Sahel region. We're talking about the situation in the Lake Chad Basin, where Boko Haram continues to be a menace, and of course the AU mission in Somalia. Now, there has been talk of rehatting of the troops in Somalia from contributing member states. We also know that They're now talking about an exit strategy, although whether that will be agreed upon and whether that will be in the communique remains to be seen. Then you also have the migrant issue. We know that thousands of Africans have made that trek across the Sahara, over the Mediterranean into Europe, and we know that Italy had already made it very, very clear that it would now shut its borders. So those talks surrounding that particular area ongoing at this particular moment, and of course the question of the youth, very, very important. The theme of this year's summit was around the youth. We're talking about employment, labor skills, because a lot of these youth who are the ones who are trekking across the Sahara or past the Mediterranean into Europe in search of better jobs so that they're able to support their families back here home. And of course, very, very important, last but not least, Beatrice, is the issue of AU reforms and AU financing. We know that they've already agreed on a 0.2 levy on imports by various African countries. We understand about 15 African countries are already complying with this new proposal, among them Ethiopia, Rwanda, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it remains to be seen what direction they will take to get more countries to speed up that process so that the AU can become self-sustainable when it comes to financing their budget. Beatrice?
Right, Robert Nagila there, and the African Union Summit this year, of course, has been more than peace and security issues. The main theme of the summit has been harnessing the demographic dividend and investing in the youth. And yesterday as well, heads of state and government passed a youth fund that will assist the continent's youth in securing their future. Their trade and investment issues have also taken a center stage. And let's get a wider perspective on these AU summits. And I'm joined by Stephen Karinga. He's the Director for Economic Commission for Africa. Stephen, thank you for joining us on Africa Live.
Thank you.
The CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area, it was discussed here. A report was presented by Niger's President Issoufou, Mohamedou Issoufou. And what is the state of the CFTA?
Yeah, it's good to keep the CFTA in perspective. First of all, even in the context of the theme of this year's summit, the fact that we want to harness the demographic dividend, which is trying to create opportunities for our young people, of whom we know a lot of them are becoming very well educated and they're also of very good health. In addition to that, a lot of countries are investing a lot in infrastructure, and I know we had a summit on the one road, one belt that was held in China. These investments also need to be optimized. So the CFTA, which is the Continental Free Trade Area, is all about creating a continental market that opens the borders between the African countries, removing all the tariffs, the non-tariff barriers, so that you can actually have free movement of goods and services and free movement of people, if possible, from one country to another.
If we can go back though, Stephen, briefly to 2012 when this whole idea was mooted, and it was said that by 2017 the free trade area would already be in place. So as we talk today, 5 years on in 2017, what is the state of the CFTA?
In fact, a lot of progress has actually been made since 2012. The report of the president of Niger was actually about a major accomplishment that was achieved last month when the African ministers of trade met in Yemen, whereby they already agreed on the modalities, what in the trade negotiations we call modalities. They agreed that we are going to open up our markets to each other up to 90%. Removing the tariffs up to 90% of all the goods that are traded across the continent. Now, they agreed that there could be 10% where countries that feel that there could be sensitivities with those kind of goods where countries can have exclusions. But it's already a very big achievement because we are already almost at the point of actually achieving the CFTA, because with the modalities agreed, now what will happen is that the countries are going now to make offers and say that we are ready to open to each other. I'm ready to open to you up to 90% of all the tariffs for these goods, and these are the sensitive part of the goods that I have. They also agreed on the modalities for the services trade. You know, this is very important because you cannot be able to produce or industrialize if at the same time you do not actually have free trade of the services, including finance, including logistics, all these are important components of a functioning FTA.
So very briefly, as we wind up this discussion though, how long before all countries are regionally integrated?
Well, in the context of the CFTA, as the President reported, there are 7 countries that have reservations to the modality of up to 90% openness. Now, what the Assembly has decided is that the chair of the champion of the CFTA, that is President Yusufu, will continue having conversation with these 7 countries. And it is our belief from a technical point of view and also from what we have seen politically that before the end of this year, we could actually have an agreement on the Continental Free Trade Area, both in goods and also in services.
All right, Stephen Karinga, we leave it there for the moment, and thank you very much for your insights on the FTA. That will be a part of the deliberations ongoing today, and we will be waiting to see what the final communique will come out with. But I can tell you, Rama, there has been 2 days of intense negotiations on peace and security issues, on trade and investment issues, as well as on reforming the African Union. Rama?
Indeed, thank you very much for that, British Marshal in Addis Ababa. Of course, with the rest of the team there, including Robert Nagillet.